Hi friends, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel, Sunset Bow Tarot. Sorry I've been gone for a hot minute. I kind of unannounced took the month of July off from doing anything, but I'm back now and have some videos that I'm going to be posting over the next couple of days. So the first one that I wanted to make is kind of a fun comparison video that I've been very excited to do. So as a lot of you probably know, the Touchstone Tarot by Cat Black is a deck that has just recently come back into print. Now, the original Touchstone Tarot, this isn't actually the original Touchstone Tarot. There's 3 editions of the Touchstone Tarot. There's Cat Black's first self-published edition, which I don't have. There is this Kunadi edition, which is actually, published by a regular publisher, but Kunadi, the publisher, went out of business back, I believe, in the early 2010s. And so the Touchstone Tarot has been out of print since then. And the deck has just recently been picked up by US Games and has been published in this new edition. Now, if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know that the Touchstone Tarot is my deck of decks. It is my soul deck. I love it so very much. And so it's a deck that I talk about a lot, but I've always felt kind of bad talking about it because it's out of print. And, it sucks to talk about how much you love a deck that nobody else can get their hands on unless they want to pay a lot of money for it on eBay. So I was super thrilled to discover that the Touchstone Tarot had been picked up by US Games and was being published in a new edition, which, as you can already see, is quite a bit different from the old Kunadi edition. But we're going to go through and take a look at a comparison, a pretty detailed comparison between the two, and just kind of walk through the differences and, take a look at whether there are any differences in the art, what the differences are on the cards and in the guidebook, and just see, a comparison between the two. So as I said, this is absolutely my most beloved deck. So I actually have a couple of backup copies of the original out of print edition. I'm not going to be getting rid of those because this is the edition that I know and love and I'm used to, but I couldn't resist buying myself a copy of the new US Games edition just to do a comparison and see what it was like. Just because, again, this is one of my favorite decks and I can never have too many copies of it. So the cool thing about this deck being picked up by US Games is that Cat Black's other deck, which is called the Golden Tarot, is also a US Games deck. So it was kind of a bummer for so many years that her deck, the Golden Tarot, was published by US Games and was continually in print, and then her other deck was out of print because it was published by this defunct company. So it's nice that, US Games now has both of Cat Black's decks and we can appreciate and love them both. So I am going to go ahead and open up this new edition and let's go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so as you can see, it comes in a really beautiful box, and US Games has been doing such a gorgeous job on a lot of their packaging recently, and this box is absolutely lovely. This is the Magician card on the cover of this box. The Kunadi edition has the Strength card, which is also beautiful, but it's a really lovely box. It's got gold foil gilding on the box, on all of the sides. Really beautiful, well done. It's got a lift-off lid here. I should just compare packaging wise. The original Touchstone Tarot comes in a clamshell style box, but still a really nice box for this new edition. So it does come with a guidebook. I'm just going to take a quick look at it. It looks really nicely printed. It's perfect bound, nice looking guidebook. So I'm going to take a look later and just to make sure that the guidebook has the same content as the original guidebook. It looks like it might, because the printing looks, I believe, smaller, even though the Kunadi guidebook is quite a bit bigger and thicker. The print, well, I don't know, we'll have to see if it has the exact same content in it. But anyway, the Kunadi guidebook is quite a bit larger and thicker, but yeah, we'll take a look and find out if there's missing content in the new guidebook. So, but it is still very pretty, and has this image of the Empress on the cover. So there's the guidebook, and then here is the deck. Here is what the cards look like. They are very nice. So, you can see this is the image of the Fool. I am going to flip through both decks fully side by side. I put my my existing Touchstone tarot back in order so that we could look at every card side by side, just to make sure there are no differences in the artwork. I don't think there are supposed to be, but just you know, for purposes of checking. But you can already see that the cards are a bit different from the cards in the Touchstone tarot of yore. So here is, I'll talk about this title card later. So here is the Kunadi edition, and here is the US Games edition. As you can see, the US Games edition is quite a bit glossier. It actually has a pretty glossy finish. The Kunadi finish cards are very matte. They're just sort of a satin matte. They're super, super nice. And you can also see that the US Games cards are, in addition to the fact that I believe the cards themselves are almost the same size. They're slightly, they're like a millimeter bigger, the cards are, but the art you can see is quite a bit smaller because it has more framing around it. So, you know, as between the two, I'd have to say that from a cardstock standpoint and from an art size standpoint, I do prefer my Kunadi edition to the new edition, but it's still, the cards are still very beautiful. The backings are different. The new backings have some pretty gold foiling on them. They're very beautiful. You know, the Kunadi backings, they've never been like the most inspiring backings in the world to me. They're just this kind of brown floral pattern, but they're unobtrusive. They've never bothered me. You know, I'd say that the new backings are really pretty, but again, the backing doesn't make a huge amount of difference to me. So, I will say that the design of the cards is quite nice. I do like the fact that they stuck with the sort of frame around the card and the little plate at the bottom to kind of show how it's like artwork. These cards are all based on a digital collage of Renaissance and Baroque style artwork. And so it's almost entirely portrait style artwork, which is the thing that I absolutely love about this deck, is that the tagline for this deck that you always see is, it's like 78 friends that you hold in your hand or something like that. And that's the thing that I've always loved about this deck, is that it feels like I have a personal relationship with every character in the deck, and it's like they're my friends. And in a lot of cases, you know, like here, you can see in the Magician, the person in the card is looking right at you, like right into your soul. Like you cannot avoid their eyes. And that makes it a really great deck. I feel like, you know, the reason I consider this my soul deck is that it's a good deck for reading on every topic. And because I feel like I have such a personal relationship with the people in these cards, it's like they're my friends. It's like when I'm reading with this deck, I'm having coffee with the kind of friend who, when I do something stupid, is like, girl, come on. You know, like the kind of friend who will call you out on your bullshit and loves you, but isn't going to let you get away with stuff, right? Like that's how I feel about it. So, so I do love, because again, they're portrait style, I love that they kept that sort of picture frame style kind of border on it. Normally I'm a proponent of borderless decks, but this would be one of the exceptions where I really feel like the borders are right for this artwork. Again, though, you know, I don't love the fact on the new edition that the borders are so much larger. You know, I feel like the Kunadi edition, it has this wood grain border around it and the plate at the bottom, but there's like a whole lot of border that's been added. The plate is a lot bigger, and you can see that there's like the wood grain border, there's the white border, then there's a gold border, and then there's the artwork. So the artwork is smaller, definitely, on the new edition than it was on the Kunadi edition, but still beautiful cards. Again, they are glossy, which, you know, isn't bad. Like it doesn't bother me at all, but I do prefer the originals. So let's go ahead. Oh, one more point of comparison I should note is that both the old and new versions have gilded edges. My edges on my copy probably look like garbage because I've used this deck so much. They're very nicked up, but they also have a beautiful gold gilding on the US Games edition, and it's a nice gilding. It's, you know, it's a shiny gilding, but I think it's quite nice looking, and it definitely complements the style of this deck. I think this is the kind of deck that a gold gilding is really right for. So, so it is very beautiful. So let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit, and let's go ahead and flip through these decks and take a look, like a close-up look, side by side, at a comparison between the two. I will say it doesn't look like we've actually lost any artwork. The artwork has genuinely just been made smaller. It maybe is cropped a little tiny bit closer around the edges, but barely, like not so much that you'd notice. So it's, you know, it's not like we've lost a ton of artwork by any means, as a result of the artwork being a bit smaller. On some of the cards, there's a slightly different, and I don't know if it's just the gloss, but like you can see the colors, I will say, are slightly more vibrant in the new edition. It's like the saturation's just been bumped up a notch, which is fine. It doesn't bother me at all. You know, I didn't feel like it needed it by any means, but it is as though there's just slightly higher saturation of the color on the new edition. Oopsies. This death card always cracks me up because it's like the skeleton is death and he's just like, hello, hi, I'm tapping on your shoulder, what's up? The other thing to notice as well is that they've added a "the" in a lot of the, you know, a lot of the card titles. And, you know, the new edition, it says "the star" instead of just "star." Again, not something that makes a huge difference to me by any means. Another one where I feel like you can really see that there's some difference in the color saturation. Oh, and so here we have, let me just make sure I didn't miss it. There is a Happy Squirrel card in this deck, and let me just find it in the new copy. It looks like, oh, here we go. So it looks like it's at the end. So let's just do this now. So we've got, it is an 80 card deck, so it comes with a title card, which was at the end of this new edition, but you know, you might expect it to be on the top. But it's just this really beautiful portrait of Queen Elizabeth I, and it says, "Touchstone Tarot, tell me true, this is what I ask of you." And it's, you know, just beautiful. Although the artists and subjects of these paintings have long since died, may they reach out to you across the centuries as they have to me. May they be 78 friends you hold in your hand. And again, the 78 friends you hold in your hand thing is so true about this deck to me. Like, it truly does feel like these people are my friends, and I know them, and they know me, and they know what my tendencies are, and they know, you know, about ways I make excuses for myself, and they're going to call me out if I do something wrong. And that's the thing that I really truly love about this deck. So they do both have this title card. And this deck also does come with a Happy Squirrel card, which I love. Happy Squirrel cards actually have a very special meaning to me. I think I made in my first ever deck collection video, I talked a lot about the special meaning that Happy Squirrel cards have to me. I know that they're just kind of a fun trifle, but they actually have they're actually kind of important to me. So long story, but I won't go over it again. But anyway, I'm super happy this deck has a Happy Squirrel. It just is one of those extra things that makes me love it. And so here we get into the wands. One thing I really love about this deck is the sort of color coding. It's not super like in your face obtrusive color coding, but there's definitely like significant swaths of red in all the wands cards. So you can really get that kind of elemental view of the cards when you put them out on a spread. Queen of Wands is so beautiful. You can see that there's blue in all the Cups cards. There's yellow in all the swords. This Knight of Swords has always felt so Knight of Swordsy to me. There's green in all the coins cards. So there you have it. As between the two, I would say that I do still definitely prefer my Kunadi edition for the matte cardstock, the larger cardstock. The fact that the cards themselves in the Kunadi edition, even though I've always felt that they're very large, they are actually a hair smaller. So it's a slightly smaller card, but bigger artwork, which, you know, I think is nice. But I do think that the new edition is very beautiful. I think that the cards are perfectly well designed. They look very lovely, you know, even with the gloss. I think that they're gorgeous. They have all of that beautiful gold foiling on them. So it is still a really, really nice edition. And I'm just so happy that this deck is back in print so more people can enjoy it and fall in love with it the way that I have over the years. It's just honestly one of my absolute favorite possessions that I even own is this tarot deck. So let's take a look at the guidebooks, because I am very curious with the size difference between the two guidebooks to know, you know, which, if one of them has more information than the other one. So we'll take a look at that next. Okay, so here are the two guidebooks. So again, this is the guidebook for the old out of print edition. This is the guidebook for the new edition. As I pointed out before, there's a significant size difference between these two. The old one is much chunkier, but I am curious to know if that's just a function of how big the print is, etc. So let's go ahead and take a look at these and see if they're different. The first thing I will say is that the Kunadi edition has glossy paper in the guidebook and has some additional, you know, definitely decorative pages up at the front. This is still a perfectly nice guidebook. It's not glossy. So in this one we have a dedication by Mary Greer, which is very cool. And then there's an introduction. We have a couple of reviews in this one. So there's already definitely some like extra decorative pages and some additional information. This also has the Mary Greer dedication. There's the foreword here by the Secret Benefactor. I don't know if that's included. Looks like it's not. So there is definitely some information in the old version of the guidebook that isn't present in the new version. So once we get into the contents here, there's an introduction, and it looks like it's slightly different text. It looks like this is an introduction to the new version of it, as opposed to the same introduction as the old version. So you can see that there's definitely a lot more text in the old one. And then there's also some like FAQs and stuff in the old one, just some like basic tarot information that doesn't look like it's actually in this new guidebook. The new guidebook really just has an introduction. It has some basic descriptions of the deck, major arcana, and then it goes right into card meanings. I'm wondering if there's more. Yeah, there isn't really. There's a little extra info at the end of just some spreads and stuff, but all of this kind of upfront information is missing from the old guidebook. Here we have some spreads. Let's see, this, I'm sure this is the same as the spreads information, or maybe it's not. Spreads. Yeah, we have, this looks pretty similar. Like it's similar text to, yeah, we have 1 card spread, 3 card spreads, larger spreads, Celtic Cross. This all looks the same. The Love Knot spread is in both books. So the spread information looks the same. Cool. But again, we get into some additional information, journaling, other creative pursuits, other uses for the deck, before we get into the meat of the guidebook with the card meanings. And that looks like where this guidebook almost kind of starts, is these card meanings. So in terms of the information for card meanings, let's just take a look here. Let's just read the meaning for the Fool. A carefree young man with a flower in his hat wanders by a cliff's edge. A dog looks up to him. In the distance are hills and bright blue sky with fluffy white clouds. While this card traditionally has the young man carrying a bundle on a stick, the Fool instead carries a flute. He stares away into the distance as though a melody is playing in his head, and he is about to absent-mindedly start playing along with the tune. He carries a basket casually strung on his back. Perhaps he's been playing in a field, picking flowers, singing and dancing a jig with his canine friend. Now he wanders close to a rocky cliff, but is oblivious to any danger. Meanings: beginner's luck, naive enthusiasm, a hopeful journey commences, a sudden unexpected event may influence the matter in question, listen to the advice of a loyal friend. Then reversed: foolhardy disregard for consequences, inertia, pessimism, unwillingness to accept reality. So this is kind of cool. There is like slightly larger print, slightly more space, but the card meanings are all the same, which is great. I will say that in the old version of the guidebook, they include the painting sources with the actual card itself. I believe that this guidebook still has all the painting sources, but they're at the end. So they're separate. So it's laid out slightly differently, but it looks like it has, pretty much all the same information when it comes to card meanings, which is good. And it has the same like little black and white actual card illustrations. So all of the card meaning information is the same, but the new guidebook is just lacking some of the extras, extra information, extra thoughts, extra reviews, introductions, discussion that the old guidebook had. But still, it's a perfectly nice little guidebook, and this deck is very Rider-Waite-Smith based, so it's not the kind of deck that's going to be hard to read with if you are familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith, but it is great that they still included all of the references for the paintings, because each one of these cards is made out of many different paintings, and she specifically identifies which elements in any given card come from which paintings by which artists, which is really wonderful. So anyway, so those are the guidebooks. So again, this is the new edition of the Touchstone Tarot. My favorite deck of all time is back in print. It is a very lovely edition. I don't like it quite as much as the out of print edition that I have, but I will say that it is very beautiful, and you know, it's going to be a perfectly lovely and usable deck for anybody who's been excited to get a hold of this deck. I'm so thrilled that it's going to get a wider distribution and have more people know it and love it the way that I do. So anyway, thanks so much for following along with me while we went through this deck, and have a great one. Thanks guys. Bye-bye.